Welcome everyone to Astrology Now with astrologer Babula Clement and myself, Cheryl Gottschall. In this episode, Babula and I will be stepping into the ethereal waters of one of the most spiritually charged lunations of the year. That's the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac that speaks in symbols, dreams, and emotions, which are far too vast to put into words. So when an eclipse touches this oceanic realm, we're invited to surrender, to let go of illusions, dissolve our old emotional patterns, open ourselves to the healing currents of the unseen, and trust the currents even when the destination is unclear. So we have a lot to talk about, so join us as we explore the astrological signatures raining down on us from heaven above over the coming weeks. And remember, if you enjoy this episode, click the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to receive notifications of future episodes. So welcome, Babula.
Thank you, Cheryl. Happy to be here again.
Yes, thank you for joining me and for joining the rest of us who are involved with watching these episodes. Um, there's a lot going on. And there's some things leading up to the full moon. So do you want to just touch, we did touch on some of them last time,
Hmm.
but if you want to remind people just briefly of some of those things, that would be great.
Yes, I think that would be a very helpful thing to do. So, yes, September is quite a jam-packed month. There's lots of action going on in the skies, impacting us all through September. So it is eclipse month, and that in itself, says that it's a strong time. But there's a lot of other things going on, in and around the eclipses as well. So on the 1st of September, Saturn, and I'm just going to just put this into context a bit with a few dates. Saturn moved back into Pisces. Now, for those who like to track these things and sort of get a bit of a picture of what's going on with Saturn, late May this year, 2025, Saturn moved into Aries. Now, Saturn has a 29-year orbit, so it takes him 29 years to complete all 12 signs. Moved into Aries in late May, turned it in the middle of July. So he got to almost 2 degrees of Aries, turned back in July, and just checking I've got my sequence right. So we had a taste of Saturn for 3 months in the first 2 degrees of the sign of Aries. And now he's retrograding, still in retrograde motion, but now he's gone back into Pisces. So he just slipped across that line from Pisces into Aries, got to 2 degrees, turned retrograde in July, and now is heading back into Pisces. And he'll go back to 25 degrees of Pisces. And he won't actually leave Pisces until the 14th of February next year, when he will go into Aries again and stay there for nearly 2.5 years.
Hmm.
So we've had a little taste of Saturn in Aries, but he's not done with Pisces yet. And it is really significant because, as you said so eloquently, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac and represents that process of releasing and emptying out and letting go and allowing ourselves to learn more about, you know, being sensitive to the flow of life and being more finely attuned to the natural flow. In Aries, we're inclined to want to push and be gung ho and, move forward with a lot of energy and confidence. But Pisces, that comes before Aries, is so different. It's water, as you said, it's the oceanic understanding that everything in life is interconnected and that there is a flow and a rhythm and a meaning, even if we don't understand it.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of surrender to be able to really navigate these cosmic mystic waters of the sign of Pisces. And of course, Saturn is, I often describe him as the meat and potatoes planet. Saturn's got so much to do with our very, very human experience, of
Hmm.
living in a body and all of the challenges that go with that and with the day-to-day stuff of earning a living and paying the rent or the mortgage and raising children and dealing with the career and really the nitty-gritty human stuff of life.
Mm.
In Pisces, it's been a pretty tough time for people who have Pisces signatures strong in their chart for the last 2 years or so. Saturn's been really putting a lot of pressure on, but Saturn is the great teacher
Mm.
and represents wisdom. And it's the wisdom that comes from often hard-earned experience, and I think after we've been through a strong Saturnian passage, which we do all through our lives, the whole chart's getting hit by Saturn in various ways. Um, on the other side of it, we'll often have a sense of, well, that was rough, that was tough, but I really can see what I got out of that experience, and I now value that, and I'm actually grateful in a strange kind of a way.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, he's and in Pisces, I think it's got a lot to do with we have to honor our sensitivity, particularly if Pisces, that energy is important in our chart, to really honor that and give that its due and its respect, and to really, make sure we're making space in our life for rest and downtime and time to dream and imagine and let that, that the mind just kind of wander and go where it wants to go instead of always trying to be in control of everything.
Mm. I think last time I used the analogy of Saturn in Pisces as standing on the beach with the waves coming in and then the sand being dragged out from around your feet and sometimes under your feet. So Saturn's gone for one last stroll through Pisces to see where our energy is dissolving through avoidance or distraction too. I think that's really important to have a look at that.
It certainly is. And there's a strong tendency in Pisces towards escapist addictive behavior.
Mm.
And like medically, Pisces rules addictions. And we all have various kinds of and various degrees of addictive behavior. I think it's part of being human. And it's a kind of coping mechanism often for just dealing with the stress and the challenges of life to want to opt out for a while,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm. So we've also had Mercury moving into Virgo leading up to the lunar eclipse too.
That's right. There's a lot of very interesting mercurial energy going on. And just before the eclipse on the 6th, Uranus, which connects to Mercury, will turn retrograde in Gemini at 1.5 degrees of Gemini. So again, this year, we keep talking about this, these slow moving outer planets are crossing these border lines between signs. And so it's the main reason why people are just have been experiencing since the year began, this wild ride that 2025 has been of so much change, because we keep moving, these planets keep moving backwards and forwards across these cusps of different signs. And so, for a period we're in this energy and then we're going back into that energy. And so with Saturn going back into Pisces and then followed up on the 6th with Uranus at a standstill, which he is now as we're having this conversation, um, and turning back. And he's going to head back later in the year and into next year into Taurus. So he's not finished with Taurus. But when Uranus, and remember he's in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, so that will lead us into the Mercury conversation. When Uranus or any slow-moving outer planet is stationary, meaning seeming to be at a standstill to change direction, its energy is very powerful. It's very present. And, it's like someone's just come and stood right in front of you sort of thing, and they're just there and you can't ignore it. It's not moving through. And so, Uranus, particularly in Gemini, is an energy of sudden change, can be a bit chaotic. Things can be very uncertain. So this whole first week of September leading up to a really important lunar eclipse has by its very nature already a quite disruptive sort of an energy.
Well, we've seen what's been going on the planet, haven't we? You know, with all the
Absolutely.
earthquakes. I mean, who thought we'd ever get an earthquake in the city we live in? But anyway,
Absolutely. That's
you
right.
feel it. Yeah, I mean, Australia doesn't normally get earthquakes, but there was one in Adelaide. I think it was last week or the week before as well. Like, hello, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things are moving and they can take us by surprise. So Uranus is the master of the unexpected.
Actually, I want to pick up on that point. Things are moving because um, Uranus it reshapes or it works from the inside out. When it reshapes our inner world, this is a personal level before it manifests in the outer world. So we can often feel stirrings within us. I've been feeling that lately too.
Yep.
We have to trust the sense of those stirrings within us because they can lead to growth. Some of it may be happening very quickly. Some of it might be revolutionary, um, and unsettling. But it's just for me. I have to say it's okay. Just
Yeah.
let it play out. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
Let it
Yeah.
change the landscape, the inner landscape, and see how it plays out in my outer world.
Yeah. That's right. It's those stirrings of change, and we didn't come here to this earth in this lifetime to stand still. We came here to grow and move and change. And we just happen to be going through a very
A lot.
accelerated process of change collectively all through this whole decade, 2025 being a really pivotal point in the decade
Mm,
of that. So, Uranus can also bring breakthroughs, changes that can be very liberating. All of a sudden something happens, or that premonition or that feeling, that stirring, as you said, of change can all of a sudden manifest as a moment of knowing, okay, I need to change this, I need to do something here, or something happens that facilitates the change that
mm,
was already stirring inside you.
mm,
Yeah, so it's a very powerful energy. There can be sudden reversals. There can also be, because it's in Gemini ruled by Mercury, our thinking can suddenly change, our perspective on something, like we might have a point of view or an opinion about something, and then we come across another piece of information and we have to go, wait a minute, maybe I didn't get that right. Maybe, what I was thinking, maybe that's not the whole story. And I think that's a really healthy thing. And we're going to have 7 years of Uranus in Gemini from next year. And that's one of the themes, I think, we're going to have to be very open-minded and be willing to adapt to new thought forms and ideas and
mm.
viewpoints.
There'll be a lot of light bulb moments.
Lots of light bulb moments. Like, oh my God, that's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Uranus can be both shocking, revolutionary, but it's also an exciting.
Mm,
Some people I know don't want a lot of excitement in their life, but you know, it, sometimes we need it to shake things up and to shake us out of the doldrums or where we're a bit stuck. We can all get a bit stuck.
mm,
Okay, so that, yeah, and of course Mercury is going through Virgo, and Mercury is going to be very active through this period, particularly in the first 2 weeks of the month. But before we get to that specific point,
mm.
and you will be part of the eclipse on September the 8th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's at 15 degrees and 22 minutes of Pisces. So if anyone has planets, it right in the middle of Pisces in those mid couple of degrees. So 15 degrees is the exact midpoint of the sign,
Mm.
or in Virgo, or in Gemini or Sagittarius on that mutable cross. Yes, you do, I do. We're in for a direct hit from this lunar eclipse. And so every 6 months we have eclipses, lunar and solar. But not every time there are eclipses is our own personal birth chart
Mm,
directly impacted by it. Absolutely, in the collective field, everything is, but sometimes our own chart will get a direct hit or
mm,
a message or an energy from the eclipse. And So, you and I will, and um, Mercury will be involved in this eclipse because on an eclipse, a full moon eclipse, the eclipse is happening, the moon will be eclipsed, but the sun is over here in Virgo and it's sitting close to Mercury.
Mm.
And it's a total eclipse because the sun and the moon opposition, the full moon, are very closely aligned with the north and south nodes of the moon, making the full moon
Mm.
extra potent and extra powerful and extra karmic. And there's always a sense when the eclipse is a total one, especially of, fate playing itself out.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And also, this lunar eclipse is a north node lunar
It
eclipse
is.
too. Yeah. So, so it can be about to do with, our life's purpose, perhaps,
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So, yeah, interesting one.
I think so. And while the Virgo energy is strong at the moment because the Sun and Mercury are going through Virgo, the full moon is actually in Pisces on
Mm.
the North Node. And when the eclipse is a North Node one, there's a sense of we're moving something forward or something's being highlighted
Yeah.
to encourage us to, yes, use the Virgo analytical prowess and skill set that Virgo is
Mm.
so well known for. Um, but to also, with that, have a sense of deep trust and deep faith in the bigger picture, in the mystery, in the flow. When we learn to just trust the flow, life gets a lot easier and a lot more interesting and a lot more, I think, a lot more meaningful as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one because where Virgo wants that precision, Pisces wants to flow, doesn't it? And
That's
where
right.
Virgo focuses on the tangible, Pisces swims in the symbolic.
Yes, the symbolic and the mystical and
Yeah.
the imaginal realms, exactly.
So we have to balance logic and feeling and service and surrender, uh,
Yeah.
and order and chaos too,
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And the Virgo side of it too can be for some perhaps that health issues might be prominent or rising. And the Pisces part of that could be, so when there's a health issue, like the Virgo way to approach that, of course, is look at my diet. What am I doing? What do I need to do? What kind of supplements or medicine do I
Mm.
need?
Mm.
And you're looking at it analytically and practically, and you're trying to get the right diagnosis. The
Mm.
Pisces part of that is what's going on with me emotionally and spiritually.
Mm.
That may be an important component of what's showing up in the body,
Yeah.
as a health issue.
So with eclipses, what goes around comes around eventually. So we have to plant our seeds thoughtfully. Um, and it's a time, like we were saying before, it's a time to let go, let the old slip through our grip. But clearings are messy, aren't they? So we can sort of feel a bit overwhelmed with our emotions
Yeah.
too, because that Pisces there, like we're drowning in them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I think once those floodwaters of change recede, put it that way, we see more of ourselves. I think more of ourself can come through, more even more of our own divine self.
Yes, and that's beautiful. And then from there, we can draw on the Virgo energy to clean up the mess if there's a mess,
Yeah.
or to literally then be analytical about, okay, I can see more clearly now what I need to let go of and release and clear away so that I can get to work on making this part of my life or myself
Hmm.
function in a more realistic kind of a way or in a better, more efficient way. Yeah, it's a fascinating polarity. And of course, eclipses are always big catalysts for change, and they're often like a wild card. Things can happen that we don't foresee. We historically, of course, eclipses for thousands of years have been recognized by astrologers as portents of big events, socially, politically, on the world stage.
Yeah.
So they can be really quite intense.
I've been watching this series on Prime Video called Archaeo. It's all about archaeologists, and they're talking about, a long time ago, the ancient people saw these eclipses as a foreshadowing some terrible thing, and they'd have to go off and sacrifice a virgin or something because they were
Right.
wicked, weren't they? But so that the gods wouldn't kill off their crops or whatever it was
Yeah.
that they were doing, or they'd always have water and all that. But so it was always seen as a portent of disaster, really. But
Yes, of doom and disaster, calamity, war, the king would be murdered on the battlefield, there were all these kind of these sort of legends
yeah,
and myths, but it's all just reflects that they are very powerful um, energies, all coming to a peak because, every month we have a full moon, but every 6 months that full moon aligns with the nodes, and the nodes are extremely important and powerful. And so, I remember years ago reading an astrologer book that described an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, as a full moon on steroids, and I've always kind of thought of them like that.
yeah, yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, the solar eclipse is the new moon. So it's the new and the full moon, but with extra potency and significance karmically in terms of karma and purpose and what needs to be released so that something can move forward.
So these eclipses every 6 months, they relate to each other.
Yeah.
They always have this strong connection.
Yeah, and we are in the phase now this year and into some of next year as well, where the eclipses are sitting across this Virgo Pisces axis,
Mm,
and so we're looking at that whole polarity and that integration of the specific and the detailed and the analytical and the practical, and over here, the soulful and the spiritual and the sensitivity and the mystical. And these two signs as a polarity, they work when they're working together really well. There's a lot here about being of service. And I know a lot of people with the Virgo Pisces axis strong. Many of them are healers.
mm,
Many of them, their life is basically dedicated to being of service, and through Virgo, you can do that in a very practical, hands-on way. And the Pisces is all the compassion and the feeling,
mm.
that goes with that. So this will be an interesting one to watch. And it's also strong because it's right in the middle of the signs where the signs have a lot of power and energy.
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. I'll have to buckle
And
up.
yes, Mercury's only a few degrees away from the sun and the moon, the full moon. So Mercury in Virgo rules Virgo and Gemini. So Mercury's very strong here. So that analytical process is very very significant. And I think we've all been dealing with that for the last 2 weeks or so anyway. We're getting there was something that happened. Oh, I know. I pulled out of a cupboard my old sewing machine last night for this first time in about 10 years
Mm,
because my granddaughter, I bought her a pair of jeans, which she absolutely adores. They were really long. And I thought, okay, sewing machine, let's pull it out. And as I was doing it, I was thinking, this is so Virgo. I haven't used it for so long. And I thought, do I even remember how to turn the machine on and use it? And yes, I did, because I'd used it so many times when I was younger. And that's very Virgo. The skill is basically still there.
yeah, yeah,
And it was kind of fun getting that out again and running up the hem.
yeah.
And I thought it's a little Virgo moment, just dealing with those practical things. And Virgo is also very aligned with craft. When Virgo people are creative,
Mm,
it's craft they want to do. They want to make things with their hands.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, we know a Virgo who loves to do that, don't we?
We do.
Yes, a couple of
We
them.
do.
Yes.
Yes. Whereas, Pisces is often more the art expressed through music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or very imaginative painting, that kind of thing,
Mm,
mystical sort of painting.
mm.
So yes, always a lot to say about eclipses.
Yeah.
So then a few days later, on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, there's a very interesting thing going on with Virgo, absolutely. So on the 11th, the Sun will make the exact conjunction to the South Node at 18 of Virgo.
Hmm.
So it's still very much, the eclipse energy will still be very active and strong. The following day, Mercury's exactly on that South Node at 18 of Virgo, and the following day, the Sun conjunct Mercury at 20. So over those 3 days, we have this interesting coming together of the Sun, Mercury, and the South Node of the Moon,
Mm.
all 18, 19, 22 degrees of Virgos, really highlighting that Virgo theme very strongly.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And
Yeah.
because Mercury's involved, Mercury has a lot to do with health and illness as a ruler of Virgo.
Mm.
And, all the imagery we have of Mercury, Hermes, he's always holding the caduceus, that symbol for medicine.
Mm.
So it can be an amazing opportunity for people to focus on their health, like getting a bit more fit, cleaning up the diet. Spring is in the air.
Yes.
And cleaning up our diet, this is so appropriate for this full moon and for this eclipse and the week or so after it. It is so the time to do that.
And I think we forgot to mention, we have done this many times, but just that Virgo energy is also about that precision, isn't it? It's about
Absolute
getting things
precision.
exact. The
Yeah.
perfectionists come out.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And if you watch a tradesperson, if they've got Virgo,
Mm.
the this part has to fit into this part perfectly because they
Mm.
know it won't work properly if it doesn't.
Yes.
And they will not leave until the job's done properly.
Yes.
And it's reminding me that my daughter and I have started doing these big 1,000-piece jigsaws of late, and we're loving it. And we've got a really, really tough one right now. And it's like you can't get a piece in a jigsaw that's near enough. It has to fit perfectly, or the whole thing doesn't work properly.
Yes.
And it's reminding me of the Virgo energy as I do it.
Yes. Actually, the Virgo I share my house with was having a moment today. So everything's wrong. Everything in
Right.
the world is wrong. This isn't right. That's not right. I hate that stupidity. That's just the wrong thing to do. It's dumb. Like, oh, okay, you're just having a day. That's okay. But it'll pass. And it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the Pisces polarity that is able to at some point just go, just let it go. Just let it
Yes.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we know, Virgos tend to see, they can sometimes come across as negative because they do see things that are less than perfect. Yeah.
That's right.
And they point it out over and over
That's right.
again.
Because it's their job to try and fix it. And
Yes.
so that's what they see. They
And
see
when,
they yeah,
and when they see it on the world stage, whoa, stand back.
that's right.
Yes.
And of course there is much that's not right on the world
Not a
stage.
lot to talk
But yeah,
about.
that's quite stressful, if you want everything to be just so and expect it to be so. That creates a lot of stress and anxiety.
Actually, that I was going to point that out that, Virgo can be quite, because it's so sensitive, it can be quite
Yes.
easily stressed out. Yeah.
Very.
Mm.
And the nervous system, Mercury rules the nervous system. So the nervous system is very fine across that Virgo Pisces axis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, by the way, just for those who are interested in such things, when there is an exact conjunction of the Sun and Mercury at exactly the same degree, which there is on the 13th at 20 degrees of Virgo, it's actually got a name in astrology. It's called a Cassimi. And it was described often by the ancients as, Mercury will be in the heart of the sun, like literally at one with the sun. So Mercury is going to be very lit up and very, very strong, really through the first 3 weeks of September.
Hmm.
Mercury energy is quite important. And even though Mercury seems like an insignificant little planet whizzing around, when you've had some experiences with Mercury, you know its power. We know the power of communication,
Yeah.
and people getting upset or getting offended or receiving the wrong information. Information and communication is a key in human life and relationship.
Well, Mercury is the deliverer of messages from the gods, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, and very important
indeed.
messages too.
Very, very important. Absolutely. Um, then on September the 17th, our friend Mars has been going through Libra for a while now, but is coming to the last stages of that journey. Mars is always in a sign when he's moving at normal speed and not retrograde. He's in a sign for 6 weeks. So he's been in Libra for about a month now.
Mhm.
And Mars, we say in astrology, is in its sign of detriment. That's an old idea. A lot of modern astrologers don't really give that a lot of credence, but it just means that, like, Libra is a Venus sign. Libra is about love and beauty
Mm,
and connection, and Mars is all about fight and action.
mm,
Um, but how it can operate in Libra, and some people might be experiencing this in their life, there might be a lot going on in some legal matter.
mhm.
There might be a conflict, a disagreement that's going on in the courts in some way. That's one expression of Mars going through Libra. So the battle is going on in the legal arena, which is Libra. Or there might be battles and conflicts going on in relationship dynamics, between couples
Yeah.
as
Hmm.
they're trying to sort of resolve a difference of opinion or point of view or something like that.
Mm.
Um, so on the 17th, what I started to get to was that Mars will make an opposition to Chiron in Aries. So depending on what's going on in people's lives, and that will be at 26 degrees of Libra and Aries. So if anyone has something in those degrees of their chart, there could be some kind of painful conflict that's being highlighted or coming to a head. This could definitely be so on the world stage.
Yeah, I was just thinking that through.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
Chiron in Aries, from my perspective, has been about all these identity issues, who
yes,
am I? What am I? That sort of thing. And then you've got Mars in opposition to that. It's like, oh, it's going to be heightened. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be
absolutely.
a lot of opposition to who people think they are.
Yes, and I think it'll play out a lot in relationship dynamics because of the
Yes.
Libra part of this.
Yeah.
That's right. So it could be quite a fiery kind of period of those few days around the 17th. And it will
Yeah.
be exact on the 17th.
But then we have Mercury moving into Libra.
Exactly.
So that maybe is a little bit, it's softening of that.
Well, it could hopefully and potentially start to calm things down.
Well, Mercury in Libra sort of opens space for conversations or reconciliations, I think.
Yeah.
There
And
could be
yeah,
debates, of course, but we're more open to listening to other people and maybe changing our minds about someone or something. We're more open to connecting and listening more deeply, maybe.
yes, and having that conversation and being open to negotiation.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, and you'll find people who have Libra as quite a strong signature in their own chart. They are natural negotiators. They're looking always for the agreement
Mm.
between opposing sides. Whereas, Mars and Libra, well, Mars and Libra can come to a resolution, but it could get quite fiery and feisty in the process. It might get heated in the process.
Mm,
But once Mercury goes into Libra, and then we'll be in Libra for about 3 weeks,
mm.
um, we can be having important conversations with other significant people in our life, whether that's a close friend or someone at work or your relationship, your partner. Um, and that, as you said, that willingness to, we have to be willing to listen, don't we, to
Yes.
hear
Yeah.
another point of view.
And that Libra energy is very diplomatic. And I've
Yeah.
got Jupiter in Libra, and I know that I can be in a room of people and I can see the energy starting to get you know, all built up, a little bit of tense and anger coming in. Um, And I like to come at those situations. You have to use words well. This is the other thing with Mercury in Libra. You're very diplomatic in how you say things. You plant seeds in other people's minds to make them think it's their idea to come to terms and find common
Yeah.
ground. And I'm pretty good at that. Um,
Yeah.
so, and handling, because I stand up in front of groups of people at meetings who have very controversial ideas about the subjects I'm interested in, and they can get a bit heated, those conversations. So I have
Mm,
to calm it down and I put it back. Well, what do you think about that person's idea? Do you think it could be, or is there a possibility that there's
that's right.
that sort of thing. So yeah, it's about that willingness to be open and also calming the waters, the
Calming the waters.
yeah.
And that word that some signs don't like at all, that word compromise, Libra will find a way through that will be some kind of compromise, because the whole goal of Libra, you could say, is harmony and peace.
Mm.
Libran's always seeking harmony and peace and some kind of agreement. So negotiation is required,
Yes,
and
yes,
discussion is required, and agreement is required.
yes. Yeah, it's an
So,
interesting energy.
yeah, so let's hope that Mercury in Libra will help to bring about a bit more negotiation on the world stage, but we'll also see this play out in our own lives.
Mm.
Um, Then on the 19th, the following day, Venus will leave Leo. So Venus has been in very passionate, creative, colorful Leo for some weeks now. And she will go into Virgo. And if anyone has Venus in Virgo, you'll know that this is that part of you that highly values skills, a
Mm.
job well done,
Mm.
refinement,
Mm.
refinement in art or craft, or in just doing a job really well and then seeing it as a thing of beauty. So that whole principle of love and beauty that Venus brings, should be bringing that into the field of Virgo, work, health, crafts, detail. So it's bringing like a heart energy into that
Mm.
uh,
Yeah.
space.
And Virgo's willing to work for things. It wants to
Mm,
get the job done. And I'm thinking Venus in Virgo. I was having a think about it this morning, and I thought Virgo is willing to work to get things done, to work hard at getting things done. Nothing's handed to it on a platter. So with Venus there, it's about money, it's about beautiful things, beautiful people. And I was thinking, it's like a person saying, well, if I look good or I have some money, it's because I earned it. I worked
right,
hard at it. I went to the gym. I watched what I ate. I saved my pennies.
right.
Now it's a payoff for me like that. So there's sort of a sense of I worked for this and I've got I've reached my goal and I've done it.
Yes, and or someone who wants to learn a particular skill or
Hmm.
an art form, and they will put in the time and see themselves as an apprentice. Virgo is the sign of the apprentice who eventually masters that skill or that art form or health, which is why you'll see so many of them working in the fields of health.
Yeah.
But it's also, as you were talking about that, it's also if we have a lot of tasks or jobs that we have to do when we're in Virgo season, like just the endless to-do list, it's
Yes.
like, can we bring some heart energy and pleasure to it? Can we find a way to enjoy those tasks? Because Venus is very much about this. It's like, well, are you doing work that you love?
Mm.
And I don't have Venus in Virgo, but I do have it in the sixth house. And it's important to me to be able to say I love my work. Otherwise, I would be extremely unhappy.
Mm,
Um, and that's a part of this as well. I'm really loving and enjoying. So Venus wants us to enjoy life
mm.
and
Definitely.
and and find pleasure in what we're doing.
Yes. Yeah. And Venus doesn't like to struggle either. I don't think it likes to struggle. It likes things to be smooth and easy and beautiful and loving and,
And
all those.
pleasurable. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so that brings us to September the 22nd, which is going to be a really powerful day because there's a very strong solar eclipse, which we'll unpack a lot next time. But so this is part of the eclipse season of September. That eclipse will be, so it's the sun and the moon, a new moon coming together, and they will be at 29 degrees of Virgo.
Mm,
So 4 weeks prior, we talked about this last time, the new moon was at 0 of Virgo.
mhm,
This new moon will be an eclipse and will be at 29 degrees of Virgo. And when you get two lunations in a month in the same sign, that's often people call that a blue moon. Some
mm.
people these days call it a black moon because it's a new moon. But it's just interesting that this time it's at 29 degrees, a really potent degree of any sign, the anaretic degree of Virgo. Um, a solar eclipse, it will be opposite Saturn and Neptune. It'll be exactly opposite Saturn in late Pisces, opposite Neptune at 0 Aries, about to go back into Pisces,
Mm,
trine Pluto, trine Uranus.
mm. Yeah.
It's got some powerful, powerful energy, that solar eclipse.
Mm, mm.
And it will be a very important catalyst for change and I think for endings and bringing, depending on where that point sits in anyone's chart, bringing something to a very clear point of well, clarity and definition in a very Virgoan way, like that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
And then having to do something about it, or life will do something about it because of these powerful outer planets all in alignment with it. Um,
Mm.
I think that's going to be a very fascinating eclipse because often at an eclipse, particularly if it's a strong one like these two are, and if they hit something in our chart, and both of them do for me, I'm getting hits from both of them. It's one of those things where we will often remember before the eclipse and after the eclipses.
Yeah.
So, something will be different.
Mm,
Something's changed and that will include, there can be big world events that occur. Someone that you really admire or appreciate may suddenly die. This happens around eclipses.
mm.
Often very important people in life are born on eclipses.
Yeah.
Like Donald Trump was born on the day of a very powerful lunar eclipse. Prince William was born on an eclipse. Charles was born very close to an eclipse. So you get that kind of thing a lot.
Yes. It's interesting because, we talk about, well, this is going to be big and this is going to happen. When you're in it, you don't see it. Because
Sometimes you don't.
no, you don't. I think of my life as fairly even keel, calm, but a lot's happened this year.
Yeah,
But I don't think about it until after it's over. And then I go
right.
and look at the astrology, But at the time, I'm aware I'm going through something, but it doesn't seem to clobber me over the head. But, and maybe that's just because I have a certain level of resilience, possibly. I don't know.
Sure.
But yes, but I often don't see it at the time. I don't recognize it at the time.
But afterwards, when you look back and reflect, you can see what's changed.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and that you realize that you're in a new place in some way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. But sometimes, we do get clobbered over the head. I had a clobber over the head earlier this year, so I'm praying to the
Yeah.
heavens that that's enough for the year. But and so, I am watching these movements closely, and I'm paying attention not just to the astrology, but to what I'm experiencing. And, because I live with family and young children, things can get very, what's that I'm looking for? Well, big things
Chaotic.
can happen. What's that?
Chaotic.
Chaotic. And all of a sudden, there can be a big drama that blows up because, something's happened and a child's having a big reaction to something or other, or things happen when there are young children around. They just do.
Mm.
And so I'm keeping my eye on this, but I'm paying very close attention to myself.
Yes.
I'm monitoring my own energy and my own reactions and responses. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I find that when something does happen, I just put on my Aquarian hat and leave the room.
and detach.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and sort of disengage. That's right.
Yes,
And that's where Aquarius energy is very handy to just
it is. Yeah.
disengage from the drama.
Yeah, it's like, see you later. I'll be back when this is all over.
Right. But sometimes your presence is required. Well,
Yeah,
that's my experience currently in my life.
yeah,
Sometimes my presence is required.
yeah.
But yes, sometimes we're able to, or somebody that we know might be going through a big, powerful, really difficult situation.
Mm.
And this too. We can send them love and support, but we don't have to necessarily participate in it.
Yes, yeah, and I think that, like you said, that Aquarian energy really helps to disassociate from the whole situation, and particularly when someone's, you know, not being their best. And I'm not talking about my Virgo in the house. I'm talking about other people too. Um, yeah, I just think, well, that's your stuff, and it's taken me a long time to come to that.
Mm,
But my Aquarius is also my ascendant. So it's taken the later part of my life to come to terms with that. I
yeah,
wasn't there when I was younger. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. And as you know, my ascendant's Leo, it's the opposite sign. So I have had a fairly dramatic life. It's just part of the Leo story. But I'm also understanding about, and when I say drama, I mean truly life is dramatic. I don't mean to belittle
Mm.
the word drama when I say that, because life is dramatic. Dramatic things happen in life.
Mm.
And, it's a big soap opera, these lives we're living in many ways,
Especially lately. Mm.
especially lately. Exactly. So just on that date, the 22nd, this big solar eclipse at the last degree of Virgo on the same day, in the evening of that day. So that eclipse will be in the morning. In the evening, Mars will make his exit from Libra and he'll go into Scorpio. And that definitely requires a drum roll because Mars is very potent in Scorpio. It's an old traditional ruler of the sign.
Yep.
And Mars will then, from the evening of the 22nd, which is the date of the eclipse, um, Mars will then be in Scorpio for 6 weeks. And that occurs every 2 years. That's an event that will happen every 2 years. And so the warrior energy exiting Libra, the sign of negotiation and peacemaking, will absolutely enter the deep, deep waters of Scorpio, where the battle can get ugly
Yeah.
and
Wow.
it can get yeah, it can get very, very, very strong. But it's not just about the battle, it's also on a deeper soul level, it's about our own internal capacity to face deep, deep shadow stuff,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And so I, have great respect for that energy. And, we might all be diving very deep.
Mm.
Um,
Whenever I think of Scorpio and Pluto, I think of the occult.
that's right.
Yeah, it's the first thing that comes to mind. I know it's powerful, but I also, powerful occult stuff.
Yep. Delving into the mysteries.
Let's go and sacrifice someone.
I can think of a few people off the top of my head right now. Not on a personal level at all, on the world stage level. Would
Yes.
rather happily do that.
Let's call up the gods. Mm,
Yes.
very
And that Mars, by the way, in that last week or so of September, and we'll talk more about this,
mm.
will actually be forming a square to Pluto,
Oh,
because
wow.
Pluto is at one will be at 1 degree of Aquarius, and that Mars, as it enters Scorpio, will start to form a square, and that's about as potent as it gets. Mars in Scorpio square Pluto. That is very strong.
Yeah. So we've got a lot to talk about in the next episode.
Yes, we
We
do.
do. Yes. So, well, thank you for all that, Babul. That's again fascinating as usual, and a lot to process and percolate on. That's
Mm.
for sure. So, remember, everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to click the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to so you receive notifications of future episodes. We're recording this one a few days before before the lunar eclipse. So um, remember to, well, actually, you won't know this if it's the first time you've joined us, but if you go to the Body Light Center YouTube channel, you will be able to tap the subscribe button so you get the notifications. Okay, so, well, that's it for now. And we will see you again in another 2 weeks and with lots more information. So, bye for now, everyone, and see
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.